Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning into this roundtable discussion on the future of UK exports. I'm delighted to be joined by two experts on the topic. So Jaya Vohra is the Global Head of Trade and Working Capital Product and Client Management here at Barclays, and Ed Prince is the Director of Large Corporates and International and co-head of the business group at UK Export Finance, which is the UK's export credit agency. I'm Shannon Manders, I'm GTR's editorial director, and I'm going to be moderating today's discussion. Now, over the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to be taking a look at how UK exporters are adapting to an evolving trade environment. We're going to be looking at the kinds of support available in key sectors. And we're also going to be taking a look ahead at the export horizon, if any of us feel brave enough to make any predictions in the current climate. We'll keep the conversation focused and hopefully leave you with a clear sense of the challenges, but also importantly, the opportunities that are shaping the future of trade and export finance today. Ed and Jaya, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. So let's kick off with our first topic, which is going to be looking at responding to global shifts. So I think it's fair to say that UK exporters have faced their fair share of volatility over the course of the last few years, from Brexit to the pandemic, and now this fresh wave of challenges, including things like tariffs and ongoing protectionism and supply chain disruption. So how are organizations like Barclays and UK Export Finance helping businesses navigating this increasingly fragmented global landscape? Jaya, maybe we start with you. What are the global risks or shifts that companies are actually looking at and that are having the biggest impact on their businesses today?
Thanks, Shannon. Absolutely. As you said, we've probably seen about 3 decades of globalization and increased liberalization across the world. But in the last few years, businesses have seen significant disruption, starting from the pandemic, some of the regional wars we've seen, physical supply chain disruptions, weather patterns. And over a period of time, that's been a consistent theme that has almost prompted businesses to create the resiliency in their supply chains and react to disruptions as they come up. However, with the latest imposition of the trade tariffs by the Trump administration, that's kind of led to an exponential increase in the volatility and uncertainty that businesses are exposed to, and the lack of transparency isn't helping on that front. So we now have businesses that are more looking to risk mitigate, plan for contingencies, versus looking at actually driving business growth with that overhang of uncertainty in the economy at the moment. But against that backdrop, we still have the government working at the industrial strategy and the trade strategy, looking at the UK's comparative advantage in different sectors and working at creating those bilateral deals, multilateral deals with different countries. And that's still meant to go on in the background. And yes, as we adapt and respond to some of the shifts in global trade and patterns, look to potentially diversify markets for the UK exporters. So yeah, lots to see and keep an eye on in this space.
Absolutely. So how is Barclays helping businesses adapt to these changes?
I think a key role for a bank like Barclays is to really stay close to our clients and have those early conversations with clients as they go through these disruptions and different patterns. So we've been talking to them. Our teams, coverage and sales teams, are sectorally aligned and are able to share their insights across the industry and best practices that they're seeing, but also have those early conversations with clients looking to potentially make investment decisions or postpone, or similarly look to access financing or hold on for a while. And we're also the ones who are actually the voice of the client, with enabling dialogue with the government to provide spotlights in the areas where businesses are struggling potentially and need support. So it's one of the positions of a strong advisor to clients, but we also have a broad range of products and solutions available to help clients mitigate risk, whether it's emerging risks around country risk, geopolitical risks. We have our basic products like guarantees, letters of credit, where we can also confirm and mitigate some of the country risk. We also work with the likes of UK Export Finance to put together packages with risk mitigation in place to help clients make some of those long-term strategic investment decisions as well.
Thanks, Jaya. Ed, same question to you. How is UK Export Finance stepping in to provide support?
So I completely agree. Uncertainty is the word that we're hearing all the time from our exporters. From our perspective, though, that is an opportunity. We are there to mitigate financial risk for our exporters, but also help them scout out opportunity where they haven't seen it before. So we have had several periods in history where we've had some disruption. We've had Brexit, we've had COVID in recent years, but also if we go back throughout UK export finance history, we were set up in 1919 as a tool to sort of help rebuild post the First World War, and we've continued to do that to the present day. So uncertainty is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity for our exporters. And how are we helping businesses? So we provide advice, guidance. If you're a domestic exporter based here, we have 29 export finance managers who are based locally around the UK, who are brilliant sounding boards and can give really good advice and an overview of the products that we can offer to help with. We also have a network of 25 country heads who are based in our strategic trading locations around the world, who are our eyes and ears on the ground, who can help scout out some opportunities where UK exporters could play a really big role, and they can feed that back, and we can work with banks such as Barclays to look at ways of financing those opportunities.
Thanks, Ed. Jaya, are you seeing exporters change the way that they export or where they export to? Are you seeing increased demand for support in diversification, in nearshoring or onshoring? Is any of that actually changing?
Yeah, so I think over the last few years, Shannon, we've talked a lot about nearshoring and friendshoring in context of the disruptions we've seen in the previous years. And a lot of the focus then was on supply chains and ensuring continuity of supply chains and resilience within them. I think with the increased protectionism, what we're seeing is a shift towards more the buy side to secure markets, key markets for our exporters and clients. So clients are looking to, at the moment, potentially there's uncertainty and may not be rushing into decisions, but we could potentially see clients looking to reduce concentration risk, businesses looking to open up new markets, and will be looking for support from the likes of us and UKEF to look to export to new markets in the future. So I think diversification of export markets is a key trend that is emerging, potentially will emerge more. But again, there's a lot to see and see how the world reacts to some of the disruption, and also how global trade across the world actually emerges as new countries try to do exactly the same, find new partners to trade with.
Yeah. So certainly this global uncertainty that we're seeing requires this agility and tailored support as exporters maybe reevaluate their risk and their market exposure. And what I'm hearing, as you say, is growing demand for maybe strategic advice and more flexible financing. Okay, so we've talked about the global shifts that UK exporters are responding to, from geopolitical uncertainty to supply chain realignments, and how both Barclays and UK Export Finance are helping businesses adapt. But now let's turn to our second theme, which is sector support and strategic activity. This is about where your organizations are actively directing your support, whether that's by backing priority sectors, encouraging innovation, or helping build this long-term export resilience that we've been talking about. So tell us, what are you doing in terms of sectors like clean tech, like defense, critical minerals, and advanced manufacturing? Jaya?
Of course, thank you, Shannon. So I think it's probably a good time to recap that Barclays do provide in the UK, as a large UK bank, support to clients across the spectrum, so small and medium enterprises to medium, large corporates to global corporates, with all of their trade and working capital needs. We do have, as I mentioned earlier, sector-aligned coverage and sales teams that work with clients on those specific industry insights they may need and solutions they may need. And we do provide a breadth of risk mitigation and financing solutions to all the clients. When it comes to sector-specific targeted support, it depends on what the UK as an economy, in the sectors that UK needs support in, or the government is strategically targeting. We work with, again, organizations like UK Export Finance to tailor some support if it's long-term investment into sectors like you mentioned, clean tech, renewables, etc. Then we do work with the government and our clients in those sectors to provide them that support. Again, it's an emerging theme. As and when there are strategic sectors that need the support, Barclays do step in and provide clients with that, and it's focused at that stage.
Nice. And Ed, same question to you. Obviously, very key sectors to UK Export Finance. And maybe you can supplement that with some specific deals or partnerships or guarantees that you guys have signed recently that really highlight where your focus lies.
Sure. So you're absolutely right. These are strategic sectors for our exporters, but also for the UK government. So the government are due to publish the industrial strategy in the summer. We obviously are aligned to Department of Business and Trade as a government department. So we are absolutely aligned with which of our key sectors that we want to support, and that kind of feeds exactly into our business plan as an organisation. So clean tech is a huge area. We've committed to an ambition of 10 billion of financing in clean growth over the next 5 years. An example of that, just recently we signed a 184 million credit guarantee for an offshore wind farm in Taiwan called Fengmiao 1, 495 megawatts, so a very large project. That will help bring in about £55 million worth of UK sort of content into that project. So absolutely fantastic deal, and it's the sixth Taiwanese offshore wind farm that we've financed since 2019. So it's a key sector for us on that green space. Another example would be we've helped finance a solar plant in Turkey, which will power 2 million homes, which, has that amazing impact there. A few years ago, there was a nice deal that UKEF and Barclays did together for a company called Wrightbus in Northern Ireland. We provided together £26 million worth of financing for zero emission buses, which enabled that entity to create 100 plus new jobs and open up new export markets around the world. So there's some really good things there, and obviously slightly more sober note, on the defence side, that is a critical part of what we do, and it's a critical sector to the UK. We have some of the world's leading aerospace and defence companies, and we are laser focused on supporting those. So recently you might have seen the announcement they were supporting a £1.6 billion contract with Thales, who are based in Northern Ireland, creating 250 highly skilled jobs, providing 5,000 air defence missiles to Ukraine. So plenty going on in these sectors, and we're keen, obviously, to stay completely aligned to where the government strategy is and where our exporters are looking.
Yeah, it's likely that these sectors are going to rely on new and emerging players to really drive their growth. Ed, so what role is UK Export Finance playing in supporting early stage companies, particularly those that might not have even thought about scaling on the international stage to date?
We support companies from very, very small SMEs all the way to, in that example, Thales, which is a very large international corporate. So in the first instance, we will help those smaller companies basically understand the exporting landscape and how to get into it. So, I mentioned before, we've got our local export finance managers who provide that fantastic sounding board and can give that advice. We have a product set that's tailored to small companies as well, who are either first-time exporters or looking to grow their overseas presence. We've got a facility called the General Export Facility. We can provide some insurance and some bonding support that helps them win their orders initially, but also provide that security that they can fulfill that order and get paid. And as those companies grow and their exporting presence continues, then we'll be there every step of the way as they become diversify into new markets.
Yeah, great to see that there's this tangible support for the strategic sectors, already underway. But certainly some opportunities there, I'm sure, in terms of financing innovation, especially in terms of getting these companies export ready, as they say. Okay, so we've just explored how Barclays and UK Export Finance are supporting these strategic sectors and helping exporters build resilience. So to close, let's look ahead with our final topic on long-term outlook and evolving roles. Here, this is where we want to understand not just what the future may hold for UK exporters, but also how institutions like yours can and maybe should be evolving to meet that future. So Jaya, let me start with you. Looking ahead, what major shifts do you think are going to have the biggest impact on UK exporters in the next, say, 5 to 10 years, for better or for worse?
Thanks, Shannon. You want me to pull out my crystal ball?
Absolutely.
Look, I think the first is, depending on the UK government industrial and trade strategy, we will identify which markets and which key sectors the government is looking to support through their negotiation of trade strategies in the context of the evolving landscape around tariffs as well. I think that should help paint the picture for the next 5 to 10 years. However, with the shifting trends towards more protectionism, we will be looking at customers looking at more diverse markets. Countries are looking for diversification of buyer markets as well. But what I would say is, I don't think we're looking at a complete reversal of globalization globalization, we're probably looking at a rebalancing in a sense across the world, where countries are looking to create some domestic resilience. However, we'll continue to leverage on the global resources that are accessible across the world. So I think a bit of that, but not a significant drastic shift in trading patterns, I would say, a bit of a shift and rebalancing of that.
Ed, do you agree?
Yeah, I think I do. I think that this isn't a huge fundamental shift. I think this is an evolution of the way that the world trades. I mean, tariffs can be very unhelpful, but also they can actually force exporters to look into new markets. In terms of key themes of what we might see changing, I mean, I say I don't have a crystal ball either, but I think areas like our the energy transition and the further shift towards net zero will be a theme that continues, and we will continue to support that. We will also probably see a shift into more emerging markets as end customers for our exporters, and again we will be there to help that. So some of the traditional markets may be more challenging, and therefore new opportunities abroad. And also, I think that we also need to understand that things like critical minerals that we talked about before, they're pretty key for both our domestic production. So having a stable and secure supply of critical minerals coming into the UK is key, but that will also help drive the exports that come up on the other side. So for minerals like lithium, that goes into battery storage, electric cars, etc. Huge export markets for the UK, but we need to secure that supply. So there'll be some interesting developments as we go forward, but where we'd be in 10 years' time, I couldn't tell you.
Excellent. Jaya, one thing I wanted to ask you about, given how close you are to digital trade, is how you see organizations adapting in response to that trend on the trade front.
Yeah, absolutely. I think digitalization of trade, Shannon, is one of those tools businesses can use to mitigate the risk of the disruptions we see around the world. With digital trade agreements being written with different countries and with digitalization of trade, businesses can reduce the time to react to some of those supply chain shocks, can also get the better insights through data, AI potentially in the future informing them of rapidly emerging trends. So it's a huge part of mitigating the risk of disruptions in supply chains, etc., around the world. But also, I think that needs to be underpinned by that focused effort in creating the trade deals with different countries and playing to the UK's comparative advantage in certain sectors. I mean, the UK goods and services do carry a bit of, we have high quality, which can attract premium in the markets. And therefore, the digital side, along with exploring markets, needs to work together to unleash that impact for the UK economy and exports.
Yeah, so something to continue chipping away at in the background. Okay, then any final thoughts from either of you in terms of new growth opportunities or untapped potential in the UK export space? Ed, I'll start with you.
Nothing that's a sort of glaring, obvious hole in what we currently do. We have an ambitious business plan, which we published last year, which has some quite ambitious targets, and we will do our best to do that. I think the message from UK Export Finance is we will do more. We will grow year on year. We will be there to support our exporters, and please talk to us. We can look to support in areas you may think we may not be able to.
Excellent. Jaya?
I mean, likewise, we'll continue to be there for our clients as they look to potentially diversify markets and look to markets where there are new opportunities. I mean, Europe is a single large market we hopefully will have good trade ties with. There are also other markets that we should be looking at exploring. Barclays has recently published a report, Batting for Growth, looking at the India and UK economic corridor. Similarly, there are other corridors that should be explored and businesses should be looking at tapping into. For example, India and UK have the fastest growing trade relationship and the fastest expanding investment relationship. So that's a key area of growth where Barclays have made some policy recommendations as part of the report. Similarly, exploring Middle East, Asian markets where there could be opportunities for UK exporters. Yeah, so lots to look forward to as we look to the future.
Brilliant. Well, it's clear that UK exporters are navigating this increasingly fragmented and complex global landscape, but also one that's rich with the opportunities that we've talked about today, especially for innovative businesses and those operating in the strategic sectors. Many of the themes that we touched on today are actually covered in the Q2 issue of GTR, the export finance issues. So from defense to critical minerals to clean technology and new types of export credit agency financing. It's all mentioned in that magazine. So I recommend that everyone check it out. But certainly plenty to take away from this conversation today. And yeah, we look forward to seeing how UK exporters continue to adapt, to evolve, and obviously to thrive in the months and years ahead. Jay and Ed, it's been a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for sharing your insights.
Likewise. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.